what is an engineering interview like really, really like? We've heard that they ask you technical questions, but kind of walk me through what it was like for you. Who did you meet and what did you do?
Yeah, my interview was long. It was about 3 hours long. And so I started off with the senior software engineer. So this round was all about brain teasers. The whole goal was to see how do I think? How do I come to conclusions? How do I make decisions? And so we had really funky brain teasers. You know, if you have a broken scale, how would you figure out how to weigh something? That sort of idea. And the biggest thing for me is those two brain teasers that I had, I did not come to the bottom line solution. I didn't. But one thing I did do is I kept talking. You know, when I was standing up at the whiteboard, I didn't, just say, I don't know. I just kept saying, well, I know this. Talk about what you know. Just keep talking about what you know. You do know. I'm like, I know that we have two scales. I know that we can do it this way. Keep just saying whatever's going on in your brain, just keep talking about that. So that was the brain teaser round. And then the next round was the technical round, which is obviously the most intimidating round. And so specifically, we were talking about React. I had some basic questions like what are components, different life cycles, things like that. And then I was asked to build out a specific class and build out a function, a very simple function. And so I did that fairly successfully. I left that round feeling pretty good, and that was with the principal software engineer. And then the last round was I met with the director of technology. That was the cultural portion. So that portion, I'm like, I got this one unlocked. I've gotten this far. And so it was just this notion of, it was just a chat talking about, how I like to work and where I'd like to go. And that was my interview.
So wait, I didn't expect for you to say you didn't solve one round and you still got hired. How does that work?
I really feel like it came down to him understanding that I could come up with different solutions, even if it wasn't the final solution. So again, just speaking about what it is that I did know, I had the pen and the whiteboard. And so I would draw out different ways. If I came up with 10 different solutions, it showed that I could come up with 10 different variations of solutions, even if it wasn't specifically the right one. And when I was stuck, I just kept saying, again, this is what I do know. I know that if I can do this, I know that I can do that. Here's how I would initially think. And so I think the goal was to really just see how my brain works.
Yeah, I think interviews are to a large extent not about the solution. I agree with you. They are about seeing how would you react at work. And it's a really good example of like, oh, I'm actually stuck on something. How would I do it if I was working for you right now? And I think that perspective is really valuable. In the last interview, you said it was with the director and that it was the one that you had down pat because it was the cultural interview. But for most engineers, it's actually the other way around. And that's the hardest one. So tell me a little bit about what tips do you have for people that maybe struggle with being more personable and find it more difficult to talk about themselves?
Yeah, I would come up with a 3-point list of the things that you really want to iterate, or the things that you really want to point out about yourself. Humanize the interviewer. Understand that they're human. Don't look at them as some god or someone that you have to be intimidated by, and just say, hey, you know what? This is just a conversation. And not only are you interviewing me, I'm interviewing you too. So make sure that you're coming to the table with really smart questions that shows that you have done research, that you've researched the company, and that you really understand your value enough to say, hey, I need to know what you're bringing to me because I'm bringing something great to the table as well.
And sometimes when people transition careers, their career might be like so different than before they went to the boot camp, or they might not have even been in a professional career before they went to the boot camp. I know a lot of folks are just intimidated that their example would be just so out of left field to what, a director like that would normally hear. What do you think their approach should be?
For people that are more technical?
For people that have never had a professional job, then went to a boot camp and now are interviewing in front of a director.
Gotcha. I really feel like honesty is the best policy. If you're nervous, say it. Say, hey, I'm really nervous right now, but I'm so excited to talk to you. And just be really frank about your background. If you don't have much of a experience or much, if you don't have, a vast amount of experience in this industry, they invited you for the interview. So obviously they're okay with that. And you can talk about that. You can say, while I don't have much history with working in laboratories or working in biomed, I have done a ton of research between the time of when I was invited to this interview until this point. And here's what I've learned. Not only here's what I've learned, but here's why I'm excited to work here. I love the potential for this, and I love the idea of that. And really sort of sell your potential, I think, but also put some weight to that. You can even relate it to, if you're someone right out of high school, you can say, there was a time where I was working at Foot Locker and there was a situation where I didn't know about this. And so I went on to research that, and I found out, and I took that piece of information and I built a blog about this. I don't know, whatever it is, but find a way to relate what you've done in the past with something that you did not know about to this new thing where you don't have much tangible history to say what you know about this something, but the idea that you can learn about it. I think I said that right. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you did. I think the message is, it doesn't matter what your experience was. There's a lot of skills that are transferable. And it doesn't matter if you did those in, a job where you're in retail or you're in finance or wherever it is that you were, the skills are the same, but your ability to articulate those skills is really what matters in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, you're somebody who's really like mindful and holistic, and it's a very different approach to interviewing than just like do a bunch of lead code and have no social life for 3 months until you go in front of a committee. So tell me a bit about, what are things that keep you really grounded in an interview that you would recommend other people try out?
I would say definitely breathing, allowing yourself to take a pause. If someone asks you a question and you don't necessarily know the answer, feel free to take a sip of water or take a deep breath, or even say, give me a sec to think about that. So really just talking through those things, but also give yourself a break if you need it. If it's a microsecond, sometimes that's all you need to sort of gather yourself. And I'm a huge believer when it comes to meditation and EFT tapping, which I'm not sure if you've heard about it. But
Wait, what is that? I don't know what that is.
EFT tapping, it's actually this technique or tool or therapy. It helps you out with anxiety. It helps you out with anything really, but specifically in this context, it helps to regear your subconscious mind and helps to really break away any subconscious thoughts of worth that aren't true to who your soul is and why your soul came here. It's really interesting. So I recommend that. But I also found an interview meditation that I partook in my car before I went into the interview. I literally sat in the parking lot. I did this little meditation and it made me feel better. So those power poses really, really help. I am affirmations. I am great. I am strong. I am powerful. I am worthy. Because it really comes down to self-worth. That's why we feel so intimidated. So really focusing on building up your worth. And I think that's pivotal.
Awesome. Libby, this was amazing. Thank you so much for being our guest. I thought
Yes, of course.
it was such interesting tips and definitely things that people can take away from this and try.